everybody. Welcome back to the Earthborne Games podcast. I'm your returning host, Anders Carlson. It's been a month and a half since I've seen you guys. November 29th.
Wow.
Franz are popping.
Franz are popping.
You missed me on the, what was it, gesticulating wildly?
Yes.
I was just
missed all of our PAX stories.
Yeah, our post-PAX.
I know. I never got around to listening to it either because, you know, Christmas time and all that crap that I hate.
Ouch. Grinch.
Bah humbug. How was all y'all's holidays times? Let's introduce you, though. We're here with Evan Simonette. How was your holidays times?
It was fine. As I mentioned on our Monday meeting earlier this week, I ended up getting sick. So I was kind of sick for half the week with some bug. So other than that, though, it was fun.
A lot of bugs going around. I was sick my entire Christmas break. COVID for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Really?
It wasn't so bad, but I lost I lost all my senses. Even my hearing and sight.
All of your
odd.
senses?
All of your senses.
No, just
all the
Every
ones
single
that
one?
that sounds bad. Oh, really bad. That sounds worse than the initial.
I think that might have been
wave.
a coma.
Coma 19, they said. Because it lasted 19 days.
Oh, we took care of that.
Got an episode title already.
Yep, exactly.
No, yeah, I couldn't taste or smell, like hardcore, nothing. Usually when that happens to me, I could taste a little bit, but it was just gone. And I thought, hey, this could cure my obsessive overeating problem. But no, I still enjoy just munching down on crispy things.
It's very unsettling though to lose both those senses, because that happened to me the first time I got it, and then when it came back, things tasted different, like nuts and cheese tasted different for a while. So
Better or worse?
Strange, worse, and those are two of my favorite things to eat.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird.
And chips and salsa. I'll never forget you eating chips and salsa one time. Back in college.
We've all eaten chips and salsa at least one time. It's not that big of a deal.
But every time I eat chips and salsa, I think of you, because I think you told me that you like to just eat chips and salsa for lunch back in college. That was it.
No, it's an affordable meal.
Yeah, you said you just stand at your counter and eat that every day and cry.
Evan, we need to talk about your protein intake.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it's shifted over to cheese and nuts. So
That's fair.
Fisher, since you just talked, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
Andrew Fisher of Earthborne Games. How was your holidays times?
Pretty low key this year. Most years, we do this kind of tour of my extended family and go and visit both sides around the mid. They're both in Wisconsin, but different ends of Wisconsin. So it's like this triangle of 5-hour drives. That's a lot with a 1-year-old. But so this year we decided we didn't want to do it with the 1-year-old, and we just hung out at home. We also got sick. It was popular choice this year. But beyond that, my folks flew out and stayed with us for about a week over New Year's. And at that point, we were healthy enough that they like babysat for us so we could get out. And so it was nice. I've spent almost no holidays at home my entire life, because we normally do the extended family thing my whole childhood. You know, even in my adult life, I would go out and visit them. So it's kind of weird. Like, I'm so used to running everywhere for the holidays. It's like, you know, I'm just like on Christmas, you know, we did the stuff with Wyatt around the tree, and then like I'm like, what do we do today?
Just the three of you?
What do people do on Christmas?
I had a similar experience. Yeah, it's true. Feels like you're getting ripped off in a way. But it's nice.
You
but it's
sit
more
on the
pleasant.
couch in your bathrobe. That's what you do.
Yeah, that's what you do.
I mean, we did a lot of that. It was good. It was nice. It was relaxing.
And our children nearly met at the Walker.
I know.
We were
We
like,
must have missed each other like by this much, because we made a little crown for Wyatt with race cars on it.
Oh, that'd have been fun to see you
We
there.
cut up fancy books to put cars on his crown.
Mm-hmm.
So,
The
yeah.
Walker Art Center has a Children's Day a bunch of crafts and stuff. We discovered on Instagram, we were both there, but did not say hi. Speaking of saying hi, Maxine, I'm good at segues today.
You are.
Hi, Maxine.
Hello.
And the question is, how were the holidays?
My holidays were pretty chill. I didn't do any visiting of family or anything. I don't really celebrate the holidays. So it was just a nice, relaxing just week off. I spent a lot of time with my partner. We have a Christmas tree, but like I was raised Jewish, so I'm like, what do you do on Christmas? Like, I don't understand.
Did
but it
you
was
do
fun.
any of the Jewish stuff?
No.
No dreidels?
Not even a little.
Oh, man. Spinning the dreidel for Geld was one of my... Growing up as a young Jewish boy. No.
Yeah, you've got to just do, instead of doing neither, you've got to do both, Maxine. There's more gifts exchanged, Yeah.
There was one year, because my mom was raised Roman Catholic, and then she converted to Judaism when she married my dad. And so there was one year growing up where we did Christmas and Hanukkah, because mom was like, let's just do Christmas this year. It'll be fun. And so we got double presents that year.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
It was cool.
See,
But like all the Hanukkah presents were like lame.
Oh. Speaking of double presents, Andrew. Get it?
Yeah,
Two
Two
Andrews.
I got it. I got it.
How are you doing? Are you home?
Doing great.
Are you back home here in blistery Minnesota?
No, I'm wearing a
Blustery?
T-shirt. Well, I guess Maxine's also wearing a T-shirt, so that's not necessarily an
T-shirts
indicator,
are all year long for me.
No, I'm still still in Costa Rica. I'm just in a different room because all other spaces are occupied, and outdoors is mosquito time right now. So I don't want to get eaten alive.
Wow. You got a haircut? I think that was already probably unveiled on the last episode.
No. Well, I got a haircut back in October for my trip to come back to
right
to Minnesota and then do the appearance on the Covenant live stream. But this is a fresh haircut.
Fresh haircut
from just on Monday. Yeah,
from Bueno Clips.
That's right.
How was your holiday time?
It was great.
Did you stay there?
Yes. I had so much time off. It was the most time off I've taken in, I can't remember when. Like, I was off from, I think, December 15th to the day after New Year's.
Nice.
And I did not do any work. I didn't even turn on my computer for weeks. And I've not done that. And like I said, I honestly can't remember.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was, it was pretty incredible. We stayed down here. We did the same thing we did last year. We did Christmas with one of our surrogate families down here, which is super fun. Like the Costa Rican thing, at least with this family, I guess I can't ascribe this to all Costa Ricans, but this has been my experience so far, is that you stay up late on Christmas Eve and you give presents. It's like a Secret Santa. So like everyone has like one person's name and you give them like a basket with fruit and chocolate. And then if it's for little kids, we get them some toys or whatever. But you do that all on Christmas Eve. You stay up until midnight on Christmas Eve and you do a countdown as though it were like New Year's.
Oh, wow.
Except it's to Christmas. And then we have cake and we sang happy birthday to Jesus. So it was
Feliz cumpleaños,
like actual happy
Jesus?
birthday, or like a different song.
It's the Costa Rican version of the happy birthday song.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different, but to the same tune.
Okay.
It's not like Las Mañanitas, which is like the song in Mexico, which is I contend like the worst birthday song ever made because it's so complex. It goes all over the place. It does not have like a standard like strong song structure. It has a melody that's really, really hard to remember.
Wow.
So
I know people like that song, but I hate it. It's so hard to learn. What's that?
It has a fan base.
Yeah. So we did that, and then we did New Year's with our other surrogate family, and it was awesome. I played a lot of video games, which is something I hadn't done in a long time. Just hung out, relaxed, did a bunch of meditating. It was fantastic.
And yet you came back to the
I did
hustle
come
bustle.
back. I did. I tried to come back earlier. I tried to do my normal thing of just working through the holidays. And I did one meeting on Christmas Eve. But then after that was done, I was like, I can't.
Oh.
I gotta take a break.
You gotta live life.
That's right.
Well, we got a special show today. Many of you listeners may have heard some best of the year things on your other favorite podcasts, and we thought we can do that too. Or I thought that. So we're going to be after we do our work stories, we're going to list our 5 favorite things of the year. We each get one thing we each say one thing. No, that was really a
Do we need to have an argument about what is the best
what's
thing for the entire podcast?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think by the end we should pick the best. Who picked the best one? Anyway,
the thing of the year.
The thing of the year goes to.
I feel like my list,
thing of the year.
Based on what I've heard so far, I feel like my list is going to be the most boring list because I just did a top 5 games list, but everyone else's list sounds more interesting.
I think we need a top 5 games.
All right. I played at least 5 games, so that's why I was like, okay, I can make this list.
Right.
I thought at first that I couldn't, but totally could.
I mean, you could mix and match, though. It doesn't have to be the same category.
Right. Well, I couldn't think of anything else.
Haircuts? You could put haircuts.
Yeah, top 5 haircuts. Top 5 game found comments.
Yeah.
Number 1, MacGyver's haircut from MacGyver. Season 4.
That was the best of 2024.
Good.
Having a resurgence.
It is kind of, actually. It is kind of the Gen Z look.
The mustache and the mullet.
Mm-hmm. Well, but first, let's jump into some work stories. I have no idea what the hell you guys have been doing. So who wants to start? Anyone?
Well, Fisher's first.
No one
on the list.
Bueller, that's the first time I've ever made that joke.
I was just speaking. Someone else can go.
Okay.
Can you guys hear my chair squeaking? I feel like I'm in a very squeaky chair.
No,
not at all.
Can you hear my baby screaming?
Nope, can't hear it.
No.
All right, good.
Okay.
Can you hear my prisoner screaming?
Is that what that is?
Well, okay then.
No? Okay, good. We're good.
I've heard that every time we've recorded, but I never knew what it was.
I think it's time they come on the show.
Let's get on up here. MacGyver? Stanton, what's his name? Jimmy Dean Stanton? Who is MacGyver?
No. It's such a crazy...
Harry Dean.
Harry Dean Anderson.
Yeah. Henry? No, is it Henry? Henry Dean?
Henry?
Jimmy Dean Stanton.
Jimmy Dean.
I just have to type something really quick. Okay, who's going to go first?
All right, I'll go first. Since no one else wants
Thank
to.
you, Maxine. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you so much.
To be honest, I don't have too much to add from my usual work stories, which is that I'm juggling a handful of different projects at the moment. But I do find it interesting. Like lately, I've been doing a lot of research because of the Ranger cards I've been designing. I've been doing a lot of research into different like environments and different animals and flora and fauna and whatnot, like in real life. And so my search history is bonkers right now. It's so interesting. I've just been looking at I can't explain like what I've been looking at because that might give something away. But it's like my head is in an entirely different ecology right now, and it's very weird.
That's cool.
I could see how the third thing you were working on
yes.
could make your search history real weird.
A little weird.
I don't even know what the third thing is. I'm curious.
It'll be a surprise, Evan.
I've got some animals pulled up on like the other, like I'm looking at this screen, but I've got some animals pulled up on this screen that are like, whoa.
What do you
is
mean
that?
by whoa? Wow. Real animals?
Yeah.
I love weird animals.
Me too. I think they're cute, to be honest.
The tapir? The tapir.
Tapir is not one of the animals on my mood board.
It's not weird at first glance, but you got to do a specific search for a certain piece of anatomy of the tapir. Anyway, is that all you can share?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I can share. I mean, designing. I've been designing some ranger cards, which is a lot of fun, as opposed to path cards. And I had some pretty sweet ideas earlier today, so I'm very proud of them. And I want to kind of like run and tell Fisher them later.
Ooh,
they're cool.
Let's just do it live on air right here. Come on.
Yeah, right. I'll just reveal a card that hasn't even been play tested live on air. Man. That can't go wrong.
We got to get these ratings up, guys. Come on. Well, thank you for sharing what you can. Let's move over to Evan.
Yeah, I am working on getting a team of artists together. Returning artists from previous Rangers, the Ranger core game and subsequent expansions, and working on art briefs for a project that I can't really elaborate on either. But that's fun to catch up with these artists that I haven't really spoken to in a couple of years, I think, in some cases. So
yeah, a couple of them.
Yeah, and coincidentally, Zhajeng just reached out to me on Instagram.
Oh, perfect.
But I gotta reply to him. I just remembered that. And other than that, I've been working with Rob and Corey on some documentation that we're gonna send to artists for Eidolon once we start reaching out and soliciting artists for that game. And yeah, I think it's looking pretty sharp, and I think Corey and Rob made the final edits, and I just have to do some things on my end, and then we'll have a fancy document to share, and we'll probably have some more documentation to follow once we have a larger portfolio, or I mean, not portfolio, but body of art that represents the world. So it's looking pretty cool and exciting.
Cool.
I've been really enjoying all the sketches that you've been sharing.
Oh yeah,
they're awesome.
Yeah. So I should mention also, when I first started at Earthborne Games, Joe had already made a bunch of sketches, and I used a lot of those sketches for art briefs. And I realized as Rob and I were putting our heads together, figuring out how we were going to approach a larger pool of artists to work with, what we can do to support our art briefs with references and stuff. And so we decided to do this weekly art prompt thing where one of us will pitch a prompt in the Discord, and then by the end of the week we'll all have some sketches based on that prompt. So that's been kind of fun.
Cool.
Robots hats is this week, I think.
Yeah.
So how do you come up with the prompts? Do you have a list that you made, or where do the prompts come from?
To begin with, it was just I started from the top down. What are the things about Eidolon that I don't feel particularly confident in how they look yet at the moment? So that's what dictated my decision for the first prompt, and then I think Rob is operating under the same process, and we're only on our third prompt or third week, so I guess I'm more interested in all the weird world building stuff that you don't normally consider, like hats. I chose for this week because what sort of headwear and headgear do the folks in Eidolon wear, and I'm not really sure, but
well, it definitely seems like it's moving in a direction, and I like it.
I think you should look no further than those the top of your books behind you there, Evan.
The what?
For robot hats inspiration.
Oh.
Having your picture bigger today we're looking at our. I don't know how to say it. Anyway, I can finally see the Mega Men behind you.
Yes.
Mega Man.
Mega Man.
Proto Man.
I didn't realize you had so many Mega Men.
Yep.
Thanks for sharing, Evan.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk to Andrew Fisher. What have you been up to?
Yeah, I've been up to a lot. I think like I kind of go through these cycles, and I was at this same part of the cycle, like as I think we were fulfilling our last Kickstarter, where there's just like a lot of random stuff to do. And so I've been doing a lot of random stuff. There's we've got a larger team now, and so we're looking at doing broader schedules. We're getting Eidolon to set 1 stuff ready. We're playtesting Maxine's unnamed ranger thing we were mysterious about earlier, right? And like trying to kind of figure that out. The foreign language partners are wrapping up all of their translations of the expansion material and like getting that ready for factories. We're reviewing stuff from both factories, producing stuff, like reviewing proofs and sending them back to folks, and like getting other game found stuff prepped and sent off to various people. So it's like it's interesting because it's like I'm simultaneously very busy, but when you have like a bunch of creative work, like a singular creative task, you get to the end of the week and you look at the creative thing, often assuming like you didn't play test it and it was awful or something, but you look at this thing and you're like, look at what I've built this week. But like when you're doing all this like little stuff, you get to the end of the week and you have to kind of sit there and you're like, what did I do? Like, and then you itemize it and you're like, well, that was a lot, but it doesn't like, you don't have this product in the same way. So that's my work stories right now is I'm kind of in that status of a lot of little things.
Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that. Andrew Navarro.
I'm right there. I'm right there with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're like in the middle of like getting ready for fulfillment and finishing up production. And it's a lot of just, for me, it feels just like nerve-wracking waiting and hoping everything will turn out all right. So I'm not a huge fan of that. I think I talked about that a couple episodes ago. Like, it's just, you kind of just have to just let it go and just be cool and hope everything is, will turn out. Just trust that everything will turn out for the best. Which
you put all your ducks in a row and then just have to wait until you get an email that one duck got out of the row.
Right. So, we're finishing up the English print run. That's at Delano right now. I think everything, the way it was described to me, is everything is printed, and it's just waiting for assembly. So that means everything's like either sitting out and drying, or it's like still waiting to be cut. That was my update that I got last week. I'm starting to meet weekly with the Delano guys, just so that we can, touch base and they can tell me if there's anything going on I need to weigh in on. Speaking of which, we reviewed some samples that they sent over overnight today, and we're going to be meeting with them tomorrow to figure out how to, how best to move forward. There's always a bunch of questions. I think that's the thing that drives me the most crazy about it, is that you get an email, you get stuff to review, and then you can't just like walk down the hall to like clarify some stuff. It's like we get this like cryptic note in with the sample we got. We're like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
Does this mean, is this like, what's this referring to? And then like we don't know the answer, so I have to send an email. And then we'll hopefully find out tomorrow, and it makes a big difference whether it means one thing or another thing. But I guess gotta like, all right, I'll just try to relax and hope that everything is fine.
Yeah, we got so used to being at Asmodee and FFG where like the vast majority of the organization is like a short walk away,
Well, I think we had the ability, like, to, when we were talking about production stuff, at least the ability to like unload our burdens onto the production staff. And they
poor
would then
Megan.
Yeah,
the nice fluffy cushion of production to buffer us from.
Exactly. So you felt like you were getting stuff done because you're like, oh, we need X, Y, and Z. This isn't acceptable, blah, 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 blah. And then it's up to the production staff to then go and then like, all right, how am I going to talk to the factory about this? And then they go get results. And without that, it's just, all right, well, now we just have to do that. Which feels very, very different. And like I've said many, many times, it gives me a completely different appreciation and perspective on the work that those guys did. So if anyone is listening from the old Asmodee production, FFG production side, thank you. I'm sorry I did not appreciate you. I appreciated you, but I did not appreciate you enough.
Oh, me too. I totally agree. I feel like I need to write Megan a handcrafted thank you letter, because I still ask her production questions to this day.
Yeah.
And she responds with like video examples and things, and I just can't believe it. I'm like, you didn't have to go that far, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Not just a handwritten letter, a handcrafted letter.
Handcrafted. Well, maybe a little drawing or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Handmade paper.
So that's where I am right now. And we've sent out a big GameFound update right before I left on my break about the state of fulfillment and the whole schedule for fulfillment, which we talked about last episode. But predictably, there were a bunch of like a small group of vocal people who were really, really upset about their games not arriving in December like we originally hoped, and that they're going to start to go out hopefully this month. But a lot of that'll determine on like this conversation we have with Plano tomorrow, which could mean like stuff might start going out this month, or it might start going out sometime next month, like depending upon how this conversation goes. So, but being off by a month or two to get like a lot of like really angry, vitriolic comments, like we had, I don't know, like people calling us liars and like, I'm never gonna like support this company again.
Wow.
Just ridiculous. But it makes me think like, all right, well, clearly you've got something going on in your life where like you're gonna unload on us about this. Like, because I was reminded about how pretty good we're actually doing. And we're really doing well, both I think in terms of like coming close to our stated goal of fulfillment, and like I feel really good about how we communicate. But it's like for some people it's just never enough. Like we can do this podcast and we can talk about stuff really openly and talk about everything that we're doing, but if that person doesn't want to listen to the podcast, then, or even like a portion of it, now we're at fault because we're not communicating to them in the way they want to be communicated with. Mm-hmm. So then we get accused of like keeping secrets by only talking to our podcast audience, which is a public podcast that anyone can listen to. So This is the worst way to keep secrets. Yeah, I think is to talk about them in a podcast. But according to some people, like this is what we're doing. So like reading that stuff is no. I thank God for Corey, because he's in there replying. Like I don't know what else to say other than I'm sorry you feel that way. Whatever you're going through, I hope it gets better.
Yeah.
But most people are silent on it and cool about it. It's like we have 15,000 backers this time.
Damn.
And we have like, 20 to 30 grouches. And when you look at like the that amount versus the total, it's like 0.02% of our backers are in the comments section, mouthing off. So I really appreciate everyone who's not in there doing that, and for their patience and support and understanding that we are always doing our best and always trying to be forthcoming and to communicate in the best way we know how. And I think most people understand that. Well, actually, probably most people just don't care. But the people who do pay attention, I think most people do understand that. So I'm really appreciative of that. So if you're not in there commenting, thank you for supporting us. and being cool. Because I got delivered 2 Kickstarters projects, like one a couple days ago and one that's coming soon. Both of them funded at the same time as the original Earthborne Rangers Kickstarter. And just for fun, I was like, I'm going to look up their estimated delivery date. Both of them were supposed to deliver in December of 2022.
Wow.
And it is now January of 2025. Over 2 years late.
Yeah.
I think a couple months late.
You're doing
probably pretty good. So I feel all right about where we are. But man, I can't wait until the game is getting into people's hands and people have something to be excited about, as opposed to just waiting around for the thing to show up, or for us to say, yeah, but things are finally on their way. But we're closing everything down tomorrow, and the pledge manager finally. So everything's locked in. So we're going to start that process of asking for address updates, and that I think will get some people excited that we're finally in that stage.
Yeah. Exciting times.
Yep.
Well, thank you for the work stories, everyone. Now we're going to move into our top 5s. Are you all excited to share? You're not, Andrew.
I'm ready.
Yes.
We're going to share them one by one.
Are we going to go like everyone's 5, or are we going to do it all in a...
Yeah, I was thinking everyone does one. Everybody does one, go around, then cycle through again.
Are we ascending in importance? What's the order
I'm
here?
going lowest to highest.
Okay.
I have
Lowest
no
to highest.
5 to
We'll do
1.
lowest to highest as well.
I have no hierarchy in mine.
I mean, you can't
Okay.
just say that to board game developers.
You
What
gotta rank them.
establish
There's your rank.
parameters.
I'll do it. Do you all think I should? Did you all rank yours?
I ranked mine, but I'm just
Yeah.
doing a video game list, so it's
I'm
easy
gonna
to
rank
rank
mine
them.
for fun.
I didn't rank mine, but I will rank mine in my head right now.
Yeah, it is more fun if they're ranked. Do we? Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
I will start. Well, no. Somebody else start that's already ranked them, because I don't have mine ranked yet. Who wants to start?
Oh, mine are ranked.
Go, Evan.
right,
I'm really
go for it,
curious.
Evan.
what
Evan.
you-
Okay, well, just real...
Yeah.
Yeah, so real quick, my top 5 are animated kids movies that I was subjected to because we're allowing Signy to watch. TV.
Amazing.
You should. TV's
um,
great.
Yeah, number
It's
5.
only good.
Monsters Inc.
Had you seen it
yeah,
before?
That's a
that's
great
a quality movie.
Yeah.
Nice.
So these are all. So I've seen like this level of Pixar, DreamWorks kind of animated movies on my own, like Up. But these are all ones that I haven't seen that I have because recently in this last year. So, anyways, yeah, Monsters Inc. has been around for a while. It's pretty dated looking actually compared to what's out there now. But
it's really the camera moves, I think, that really kind of make
Yeah.
it feel dated.
Well, and like the
Camera
particle physics of like hair and things is just not as dense, or it doesn't have the reflective quality and stuff. But anyways, it was delightful. I didn't even realize that it was John Goodman and Billy Crystal, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And also, oh man, the guy. And never mind, doesn't matter. It was to kick off my top 5. It's a very heartfelt movie, and that's kind of the theme of all of these. It had a really lovely story progression and especially ending. It was a very, very sweet ending. So
Yeah. It's very sweet.
What would you say is the overall theme of that? What is the message of that movie? What's it about?
oh boy,
I think it's. Well, I'll let Evan answer. I feel like I've seen that movie so many times, so it's pretty. It does kind of like bang it into your head, I think.
I think just it sounds so lame, but just the bond of an unexpected friendship. There's a lot more to it. The story doesn't really drive that. The setting doesn't really drive that to me, but that's kind of the theme I was left with.
Yeah,
I gotta think about that more.
love and laughter more powerful than fear.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Mhm.
Exactly. Thank you.
Wonderful number 5. Andrew Navarro, what is your top 5?
I
number
did
5,
my
sorry.
top 5 video games I played in 2024. And my number 5 was Space Marine 2.
Nice.
which I had talked about on the podcast. I enjoyed that game, but then as soon as I finished the story, I didn't ever go back. Like, I played a little bit of multiplayer, but I think ultimately I even though it's on number 5 on my list, I didn't play a whole lot of games. So if I had played more in a year, it might have not even made the list. But I think it's really hampered by the over-reliance on AI buddies in your squad when you're playing with fewer than 3 people. And that's disappointing because sometimes I would just want to play single player and go through an exciting action adventure 40K thing as a badass super Space Marine guy. And it always felt like these morons were in my group with me. Like, come on, guys, let's shoot at the objective, please.
They're trying to simulate playing with your friends.
Yeah.
Oh man,
It was AI or other people?
Other people was fun. Like, if it doesn't go right with other people, at least you're all laughing and having a good time. You're not just shaking your fist at the
totally
at the dumb computer guy. I think the big difference when you're playing with multiple human players is that the enemies will actually do damage to you, whereas the enemies when you're playing like single player somehow don't really do a ton of damage to the AI people. It's like they tuned them to just be around to revive you when you fall.
Oh,
yeah.
If it's obvious, it feels bad.
Exactly. Yeah. It. I don't think that they did a very good job of that, but it's a beautiful game. It's very 40K. They totally captured the Tyranids, the vibe of the Tyranids, in a really amazing way. Like, the amount of stuff on screen in that game is just mind blowing. It's so cool.
That's
in the introduction, there's this moment where like Tyranids are swarming across the horizon, and you're like, "Oh, that's a cool looking skybox animation."
Yeah.
And then they just keep coming until they're in the foreground, and you're like, "Oh, that wasn't a skybox; that was just rendered enemies."
Yeah,
that's
I
really
actually
cool.
have to fight all of those.
That's
it's
awesome.
super cool. Yeah. So that part of it is awesome. So yeah, I bought this extra fancy edition so I could play it a little bit early. So I'm waiting for more stuff to drop. So we'll see. Maybe they'll do some improvements or something at that time. We'll see.
Awesome. Let's go to Fisher. What is your number 5? Do you have a theme or anything?
I didn't really know we were. My list is just top 5 things.
Nice.
So like mine kind of scatters around. Though my first one is a video game, to join Andrew Navarro on this. I just kind of threw random things into the list. So
I like that. I wanted to do that originally, but
my first one is actually a game I played right near the end of the year, called Citizen Sleeper. This is a kind of role-playing sci-fi slight cyberpunk game where it's mostly kind of a storytelling game. You play in these days, and each day you roll a bunch of d6s, and then you can assign these d6s to different tasks, and then your chance of how well you do at those tasks depends on the d6 roll. Like, so the higher the roll, the better. But then there's like a whole cyberspace layer where you can go into cyberspace, and a lot of cyberspace uses really low value dice for kind of a different purpose. So you can kind of split your dice between, even when you roll low, you can just go into do stuff in cyberspace. And it was really cool. When it first came out, I played it because the sequel is coming out in a couple days, and I bought it on sale so long ago. It's sitting in my Steam library. I was like, I should probably play this. And the first time I played it, I didn't quite get into it. I got some bad rolls, and like I think starved to death, or like you starve and then you need to like. It's a long. You're this android, and you need to inject yourself with this stuff regularly, or your body rejects your consciousness. And so, like, I ran out of money for my injections. So the first time I played it, I kind of bounced off. But this time, I actually played it correctly, and the story kind of clicked, and I got really into it, and I played through the whole thing in the DLC, and it really touched me, and I found the writing very cool. And it was really interesting playing it after working on Rangers, because there's a lot of design parallels between the way Citizen Sleeper structures its stories and Rangers structures its stories in these kind of like somewhat linear narrative threads with, limited branching. It's very clear that while Citizen Sleeper has the digital side to hide complex branching, they had a limited team, so they didn't have unlimited resources to write all this. And so they'll have these kind of small stories with small bits of branching, but that you can start in any order and play in all these different orders. And then like things that happen in one might impact, the resources output from one might impact another, or different stories require the same resources and you have to make hard decisions between them. And so in many ways, it's fairly similar to a lot of the threads we put out in Rangers. Our story is linearly structured, but or at least sequentially structured, but you can pick up a lot of these other things simultaneously. And I found myself kind of observing how they'd solved some of the same problems that we faced or stumbled on. I played a sequence that was you're supposed to play early. I put off until the very end of the game, and it was clearly written assuming my role in the space station was still like very early on. And so like it kind of didn't feel right? Like, and, I think we've stumbled over similar things on occasion when we didn't line things up correctly. So it was a very thought-provoking play, both in its themes and also in its similarity to our work. So that was cool.
Awesome. Heard good things about that one.
Yeah, I've been told that I need to play that game.
Yeah, I think you would like it a lot, actually.
Yeah,
Maxine.
I think
it would click with you.
I love the art is really great. Seems like they got one artist.
Cool. The vibes are very cool, and like they definitely have like the art and writing all kind of work towards the same vibe very well and feel very unified.
All right, Maxine, what's your number 5?
My number 5, I had to, so I didn't put numbers to these, so I had to I'm still deciding in my head what my number 5 is. I think it's Helldivers 2.
All right.
And I don't have a theme for my list. There's some video games on here. There's some other stuff on here. But Helldivers 2, that game came out when I was visiting my brother in Jersey. And that was like, all we did was play Helldivers 2 after like work and whatnot. And it's just so much fun. It's just such a cool game. I love how chaotic and how like friendly fire is not just activated but like everywhere. It's just like such
all the time
so chaotic. And it's especially fun to play with, like, you can play it solo and it's fine, but it's especially fun to play with 4 people. And I've played it a few times with a few friends, and like it's great if you have a group of like people that instead of just like randos. And I highly encourage people to check it out. It has a really clever, it doesn't have like the battle pass system that like most games these days like have. Instead they have what are called war bonds, which you can purchase for real money, but you can also purchase with in-game money. So you don't have to, if you just play enough, you don't have to pay for anything, which is great. And it's only a $40 game, I think, so it's also cheaper than most games. And they don't expire. So like you purchase a war bond and you can unlock the things in that war bond through playing the game, but all of the war bonds for the last like year are all still up there. And I've only purchased 2 war bonds, and I only paid I didn't pay money for them. And it's like, this is great. Like, this is so much better than like a season pass. Like, I love it.
Awesome.
So yeah, I've got a flamethrower build that I really enjoy.
We should probably play at some point, Maxine. Though I warn you, I'm very bad.
Oh no, I'm awful. I don't play on, when I play solo, I play on like difficulty 5 maybe out of like 10. My friend John plays on like difficulty 9, and it's like, oh my god, it's insane.
Did you say that there's friendly fire, like
by
default?
Not just friendly fire, but lots of friendly fire.
And
like,
you have a flamethrower, so you're probably torching your teammates all the time.
Oh yeah, No, it's
Awesome.
yeah. I'm like, don't turn east. I am like lighting up this entire area.
One
and
of the features is you can call in airstrikes that level multiple blocks, and
Yeah.
they will instant kill your allies if they're in those multiple blocks.
Oh my
Except you
God.
have
if
to,
you call down if you call down a support weapon, like I'm calling down my flamethrower, it lands in a little capsule and then you grab it.
Oh,
But
like
if
a
you're
shot from
standing
a-
in it,
yeah.
like you can call down a flamethrower onto someone by accident, like.
That sounds
And
awesome.
they're like sticky, so like you can accidentally throw it and someone walks in front of you and it sticks to them and then they're like, well, I've got about 5 seconds to live.
I love the
It's so much
chaos.
fun. Yeah, it's great. But you can call in reinforcements. You have lives, so it's like when you die you're like, ha, that's funny, and then you just keep playing. It's not like frustrating.
That's the best. Comedy.
Yeah.
Need
That's my number
comedy.
5.
Cool. All right, my list is the vague theme is things that made me remember who I was before I became a dad.
Wow.
Because being a dad, I kind of just focus on that and zoning out with video games. But there's a couple things that brought me back this year. And I haven't really been into movies much in the past few years, but I decided to finally watch The Lighthouse. And really weird movie. I loved it.
Intense.
I really loved it. It's my kind of thing. And it reminded me how much I love weird independent movies, if you can call it an independent movie or not. But Willem Dafoe is great.
It's got like an art housey kind of style.
Yeah,
it.
totally an art house movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my number 5. Have you guys seen that one?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
I like
wild.
I like it a lot. I saw the director's latest one, Nosferatu. Did anybody see that?
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah.
Not my favorite.
I want to see that.
It's good. It's good. Not as good as The Lighthouse, in my opinion. Anyway, let's go to Evan's number 4. Number 4.
Yeah.
Kid movie.
So my number 4 is a movie called Onward.
Oh yeah.
Has anyone heard of that?
I don't know that one.
Two Goblins.
Yeah, that's like the road trip one with the brothers, and it's kind of like fantasy modern day.
Yeah. So that I had no idea what to expect, but that's what drew me into it was the fact that the setting is like a swords and sorcery fantasy world, but brought through time to the point where it's developed into modern society, and industry is sort of replaced magic, and everyone jokes about magic users, and the main characters are on a quest to they discovered their father, who I think died before the youngest could know him, was exploring his roots as their ancestry as magic users or something. So he gifts them like a wizard staff or something, and they try to perform this spell to bring him back for a day so they can know the person that was supposed to raise them. But the spell gets screwed up and he only comes halfway back. It's just his legs. And then they have to but the spell only lasts for a day, so they have to race against time to figure out how to complete the spell. And it's once again, it's a very heartfelt movie, but also what really drew me to it was how it's like they took a modern day suburban city, and they just kind of tweaked the design of every little thing, from cars to houses to to the high school, to make it just have a little fantasy like medieval bend to it. And I really loved just pausing the movie and just looking at all the stuff going on in the background. That
was your daughter like, hey, what are you doing?
Stop pausing.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really good, and it's voiced by Tom Spider-Boy, Tom Collins, Tom
Holland.
Tom Holland.
Are we doing a bit?
Is that a drink?
And Chris Pratt. So
Tom Collins and Harvey Wallbanger.
Tom Holland. Well, so he just came out with like a new beverage, I think. So maybe that's what
He did.
Yeah.
I love it.
Is that a Pixar movie?
I've been having trouble remembering actors' names lately too. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. There's too many of them.
I know. It's like the reservoir is full.
Andrew Navarro, what's your number 4 video game?
My number 4 is Chance of Sinar.
Ooh, I want to play that one.
Yeah, it's really good. Against, I've talked about all of these except for I won't spoil it.
Okay.
Almost all of these on my on the podcast previously. Yeah, so Chance of Sinar. This really cool language game about language. Kind of like a glyph based puzzle game. You learn multiple languages throughout the course of the game. I loved it. It's a pretty quick play. Has I think a really great aesthetic, and really clever mechanics. I really liked how you could, when you first encounter glyphs for the first time, like when people speak, they have this little, it's like, and then the glyphs kind of appear in a speech bubble above them. And then they show up in your little journal, and then you can guess from context what you think that glyph might mean, and you can just write that in. So then the next time you encounter that glyph, when someone speaks, it'll show what you are guessing it might be, and then lots of times you're like, well, I was way off on that one, or like, oh yeah, I'm
no
pretty
way
close.
That's right.
Yeah. And then when you I forget what happens, but eventually you I forget how you unlock it, but eventually you unlock the actual words. And then when you go on to learn new languages, then you kind of you play this little game at the beginning where you're matching glyphs from the previous language to the new language, so you get a little bit of a head start. And then eventually you're mixing all these languages together. And then it tells a really interesting, just kind of heady, sort of philosophical story that I really enjoyed. And and I usually play my video games first thing in the morning on the weekends. So it's 7 a.m. I'm there with my coffee. This is the perfect,
Nice.
Yes.
the perfect game for that vibe.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so I really highly recommend that game. It was super fun.
I'm going to get it and I'm going to play it in that same way. The early morning coffee game.
Mm-hmm.
Next, Fisher. Number 4.
Yeah, so I talked about this already on our top books, which is, I'd say, so it's a book called The Power Broker. So this is the book about Robert Moses that I talked about in that podcast. This is this big book written by this guy named Robert Caro, who also is somewhat famous for writing these Lyndon B. Johnson biographies. But this is kind of his first mega researched biography on Robert Moses, the road builder. And this really dominated my 2024 because I was listening to my favorite podcast, 99% Invisible, do a breakdown of this book. Every month they would do 1/12 of the book and talk about it. And that podcast, I really looked forward to it every month. It was really cool. They had all sorts of cool guests on, senators and all the way from Pete Buttigieg was on there to Brendan Lee Mulligan from Dimension 20 was on there because one of his campaigns features Robert Moses as a evil necromancer trying to make roads that do some horrible glyph to New York.
That's awesome.
And so it had this wide variety of guests, and I just and so thinking about this book dominated my 2024 quite a bit. If you're curious about the book, you can hear me talk about it in the last episode, so I won't go into exhaustive detail, but I've really appreciated that podcast and my time kind of thinking about and rereading this book.
Awesome. Moving over to Maxine.
All right. So my number 4 is something I haven't talked about on the podcast yet because I just got into it over the winter break. It's an early access game called Witchfire. It is so cool.
Wow.
So it's a single player game. It's a first person shooter. It plays a lot like Destiny. If you've played that, the controls are great. It just feels so good to play. And but it's old school guns, lever action rifles and revolvers, and you're a witch hunter. and it has elements of like a roguelite, where every time you clear like a batch of enemies on the map, you get like a new skill or ability or passive thing, and you're trying to like get through and like clear as many enemies as you can or fight a boss and then extract from the area through a portal. So it has elements of an extraction shooter too, which is super cool. And so like it's just so good. It's just really well made. It's made by like a new team called the Astronauts. This is their first game. So it's kind of an indie game because they're like a pretty small team too. And it does not look like an indie game. No. This looks like a AAA game. It's really cool. Like the number of times I've been sitting like with my Steam Deck like late at night playing, and I'm like so stressed out because I have like 50,000 Witchfire, which is like the currency that you use to like unlock like stuff like in Dark Souls, and you drop it when you die like in Dark Souls. And I'm like I'm doing like a mad dash to get to the portal because there's like 18,000 enemies behind me, and like if you make mistakes, if you like step on traps or if like enemies spot you, sometimes you get like these little eyeballs on the top of your screen, which is like the witch is onto you. Huh. And if you get 5 of those, then the witch casts a spell at you, which is like a big calamity, and like a huge swirling vortex appears in the sky and like crazy stuff starts happening. And so like just making a mad dash to the portal to like escape, it's so much fun.
Whoa.
Highly recommend.
Crazy.
It sounds kind of addicting.
It is also very difficult. Okay. So if you don't like really difficult shooters, maybe stay away. But it's very fun.
That sounds pretty cool. It's an early access, you said? Yeah,
it's an early access. So they only have 3 maps available, 3 like areas to explore. The areas are pretty, I wouldn't say they're pretty big, but they have a lot of secrets to them. Like the first area is like an island with a big tower in the center. And the first time you go to the island, you just kind of like roam around, maybe shoot a few guys, get your ass kicked, and then you leave. And then as you get better and better and you get stronger and you get more weapons and more spells, you keep returning to this island, and eventually you can get inside that tower. And then there's a whole puzzle of like, how do I get down into like the basement of this tower, and like so on and so forth. And cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, there's clearly a lot of work to be done still. So if you're not ready to play an early access game, maybe wait until the full release. But
I'll wait till the console release, when and if that ever happens.
The console release for sure.
In 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, in like 3 years. Yeah, probably. In all honesty.
All right. My number 4 is kind of abstract, but it's learning new things. There's 2 things that I did this year.
Learning awesome. New things is fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good top.
But it's only number 4.
I know. I whipped up my hierarchy.
When we were talking in the podcast chat about like top 5 things, things, I almost joked the concept of love, but I think yours is close to as abstract as that. But I like it. And
is love a concept or is it real, Fisher?
Well, okay, that's fair.
Okay, learning can be both.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. I learned in August. I just decided to start taking piano lessons. I never learned piano, never learned how to read music, and it's kind of one of those things where it just feels like something you don't do when you're an adult. Like I've been a musician my whole life. Why would I suddenly have someone teach me? But of course you would. Why not? And it was awesome. He recently quit the music studio, but anyway, it was great while it lasted. We're probably gonna.
You scared him away?
No, he's actually like the pianist for Colin Mochries. Remember that guy from Whose Line Is It Anyway? Yeah. So he's going on tour with him. Anyway,
that's cool.
I learned how to play piano much better, and that was really fun. And then I also learned to do some programming in Game Maker Studio. Yeah, that was really that's been even more fun. So I've been making games, and man, that should be number 1, maybe. I don't know. It's number 4. Recency bias, I think. I haven't done it in a while. Anyway, Learning new things.
Awesome.
Going over to Evan. Number 3. This is my favorite list, by the way.
Well, real quick, I always think about taking piano lessons, and I tried to teach myself years ago in my 20s, and it was very hard.
Just go take lessons. It's
I know.
fun.
I do want to. I think somewhere down the line I will. Anyways, my number 3 is Zootopia.
Oh,
has anyone seen that one? Zootopia.
I still haven't seen it, but my kids have seen it a million times.
Yeah, it's what I really enjoyed the most about it is how it's Zootopia is obviously like some sort of fantastical metropolis where animals both small and big coexist together peacefully. And what's really cool about it is the layout of the city. There's like a district for just all the tiny like mice and there's tiny little miniature buildings, and they're connected with like hamster tubes. And there's like huge places, and there's places built for giraffes. And so the amount of work went into just developing what the entire city looks like is amazing. But I was surprised once again at how heartfelt this movie was. And that's kind of I guess that's not just the theme of all these top 5, it's just all of these kids movies in general. But yeah, it's really the crux of the story is it's kind of about these animals facing like unexamined prejudice between like prey animals and predator animals. It's something that that was always beneath the surface, but they didn't really have to deal with it until some stuff started happening in the city. So it was a cool little allegory. But I also, just real quick, when you watch the movie, I'm pretty sure it's this movie, during the opening credits, the first credit is something along the lines of based on an idea by Byron Howard, I think was his name. And I just thought that was so funny. Like, it's not even written by or directed by Byron Howard.
How much money does he get?
I don't know. Did he write it on a napkin and then give it to someone else and they wrote
Animals
a story?
with clothes on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure there's more to it than that, but I just thought it was really funny that that's what the credit is. So
that's awesome.
I want to see a movie with animals. Go make it.
We'll credit you.
Yeah.
Oh, Zootopia. Yeah. It's probably the name. It's such a good name. Maybe it was just a name. Man, with those movies, like you were saying, all these details that were paid with like the little town and all that. Like, there's so much cool art in these movies, but then they try to be funny. That's when I'm like, God, you just ruined everything. The writing, the humor that's trying to appeal to adults. Groaners.
Yeah, there's a bit of that.
That one I remember feeling like humor is terrible.
There's the cheetah police officer who keeps using this app that puts his face on like other animals that are dancing or something, and it's just a joke that's not even funny really, and it's drawn out.
Maybe the kids like it. All right, Andrew, number 3 game.
Speaking of funny movies, I watched Mystery Men last night for the first time in a very long time.
Nice.
That movie is fantastic.
I love that movie.
So good. So many funny lines in that movie. A lot of dumb stuff too, don't get me wrong, but man, some really memorable lines. My number 3 is Stellar Blade. Again, I talked about it on the podcast. It's a third person character action game set in the far future that examines the nature of humanity in a very similar way to Nier Automata, if anyone's played that game, where you're playing as a human and you're meeting humans, but every human is like a robot. And then you're fighting enemies that are like monsters, and you find out, I'm spoiling things, but you kind of know from the jump what's up. If you're familiar with this particular genre of fiction, you're fighting these monsters, and you find out pretty quickly that these monsters that we're fighting are the evolution of the actual humans who had to like modify their genes to fight the robots, and then just lost their humanity. So it's like, what is a human if these robots act like the humans used to, but the humans are now just monsters? So pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
it's
cool.
Gameplay wise, it's kind of like a combo focused combat, with like dodges, like needing to like precisely dodge and parry things to build combos and stuff. And structurally, it's kind of similar to like a Souls game. Or like I also played Black Myth Wukong this year. This is not on my list because that game is too hard for me. Where and you know, like an Elden Ring is also a game I enjoy, but it's also too hard for me. So this game is like right there where it's like there's just enough challenge to occasionally frustrate me, but not so much that I can't progress without spending hours and hours and hours. So I really enjoyed it. And it's got, you know, it's more bright and colorful, and it's less dour and misery laden, even with the theme as described. Yeah, so I've spent a lot of time. Actually about to finish my second playthrough. I'm going through and getting all the collectibles and stuff.
Wow.
And
Nice.
I got I really enjoyed Nier Automata when I played it, so they released DLC for that. So I got the Nier Automata DLC, so now I'm running around as the Nier Automata character in the game. So I'm mashing those two things together that I enjoyed.
Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah. So anyway, that's my number 3. It is fun. It is like very chill, and gives me that kind of Dark Souls feeling without being like just brutally punishing.
I'm trying to complete Final Fantasy VII Rebirth 100%. The same.
Oh, nice.
Same as what you're doing. It's very hard.
Yeah.
And I might not do it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it. I already missed a collectible that I can't go back and get. I was like, God damn it. I was doing so well. I was keeping track. I had my little list up, but I was just playing the game, and then it's like, uh-oh, I think I missed a thing. So I missed one collectible that I had to go play through the whole thing again to get. I'm not doing it.
Oh,
not worth it.
No.
Not worth it. All right, Andrew Fisher, number 3.
Yeah, number 3 is going to be a board game. I think I've mentioned this on stuff we're into, but it is Final Girl, the solo board game where you play as a titular final girl in a horror movie trying to defeat some kind of slasher or horror movie monster. This I've had a lot of fun with it, and I think it made the list for 2 reasons. One, I guess 3 reasons. One, I just enjoy it. I'm enjoying it. But 2, it kind of, I haven't done a lot of solo gaming, solo board gaming. I usually play a lot of my solo gameplay digitally. I've done occasional, right? Obviously we tested Rangers a bunch solo, but I rarely just cracked open a board game solo for myself unless I was like rehearsing or practicing for teaching people. But with Final Girl, I picked it up last year and just played it just for the sake of playing it, and I really enjoyed it. And like it was cool. I enjoyed it so much I like ruined the solo playing by having Sam come, and like we kind of did it as a team. But like it's been cool to just, I don't know, play and enjoy a board game by myself, and it's opened me up to a lot more. Like I'm going to be playing through Legacy of You that you gave to me, Andrew, as well as like I plan on playing through all of Sleeping Gods, though that one might not become solo because I think Patrick might want to join me, but we'll see. So like, anyway, this is all to say that Final Girl opened up this kind of solo board gaming sphere to me in a way that I hadn't done as much before. And then I just am impressed with some elements of its design. There are definitely some that I have like critiques of, but I really like its modularity and kind of that mix and match, and like how you can mix and match the components of it in a very intuitive, straightforward way, I think is something, and in a way that like even the packaging design emphasizes. I think a lot of games, expandable games, could learn from Final Girl's example in that. And so that, as well as some of like how they put storytelling in through combining otherwise fairly dry mechanics to create these kind of interesting emergent events. I think both of those I've taken away professionally as well. So that is why it made my list.
Cool.
Yeah, I want to get into that. Did you mention that you have to get the full experience, you should just have more than just the base game or something?
Well, yeah, so the base game, you actually need at least one feature film. So to just play, you need one feature film box and the core game. The core game is just like all the shared components, so you can't actually play with just that box. But I think it's best if you have like 2 feature films, because then you can like, at the very least, like play, you play both of them and then you swap the setting and the monster, and like you have a little bit of mix and matching to get started. But if you're curious, you can just borrow I can give you Camp Happy Trails, which is kind of like the learning setting, and you could play a game and see if you like it.
Okay.
All right, Maxine, let's do your number 3.
All right. My number 3 is weird. My number 3 is a band.
Yeah.
It's a band called Nothing But Thieves. I've been into them for a few years now, but they put out their most recent album. I actually think it might have come out in 2023. Oops, but whatever.
It's okay.
But I saw them live on First Avenue, and they were incredible live. Just amazing. They've like quickly skyrocketed to my top 3 bands of all time. They're super good. I don't have a lot to say other than listen to them.
What
They're great.
genre? What's the genre?
Rock. Yeah, just rock.
I love rock music.
Yeah. They're an English band. Their most recent album is called Welcome to the DCC, which is, or no, that's the name of their first song. It's Dead Club City is the name of the album. But yeah, super good. Check it out.
Cool. That leads me to my number 3, which is also a musical artist.
Really?
That I just discovered today is only 21 years old, and I hate that. But his name is Cameron Winter, and the album is called Heavy Metal. And as someone who has been recording music for a long time, and just that was my thing, I'm a musician, I love music, I haven't really liked anything much in the past couple of years that's new. And this album came out late last year, and it blew me away. It's not heavy metal music. It's kind of eclectic, rooted in probably 60s and 70s kind of. There's some Nick Cave in there. His voice is the thing that really stands out to me. It's kind of like a chameleon. It changes. Sometimes I hear, different artists in his voice, and it's just so good. I love it. Probably not everybody's cup of tea, but it is for me. And then I just want to throw in an honorable mention. This Wario amiibo I got from a yard sale. Isn't that great figurine?
Yeah.
It's perfect.
This is an honorable mention on your list, this amiibo?
Yeah, it's one of the best things of the entire year.
It's $2 at a yard sale, but I love looking at him. Look at how his mouth.
Often that,
look at how his mouth goes in there. You see that?
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
The detail. And I wonder if it was designed in a computer modeling software or actually sculpted. What would your guess be?
Probably computer.
Computer.
Yeah, computer.
It's got to be a computer.
God damn it.
Almost definitely.
Most definitely. It's probably just literally the model for the video game.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're down to number 2, Evan.
Okay, number 2 is a movie called Luca. Luca. Luca.
I've seen that. That's great. It's a good one.
Yeah. Amazing music. I love the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Signy likes to listen to the soundtrack quite a bit, which I never get tired of. But yeah, it's just a sea monster boy named Luca who discovers that when you crawl onto land and dry off, you become a boy. Or a person, I guess. And then he meets a friend, and they have fun learning about humanity in a little fishing village called Portorosa. And their goal in life is to get a Vespa and explore the world. And it's just a fun, feel-good movie. And I think my favorite thing about it is the way the animators handle the animation of facial expressions and like poses and things. That seems like they take special care to capture these facial expressions and poses that you might, in a way that it would look like what's if there's a comic book of this movie. There's like, you know how sometimes with characters in a comic book you can get away with certain expressions that aren't realistic in 3D. Well, they actually, I saw like a behind the scenes image where they showed how they had to warp a face to like, so that seen through the 3D camera looks like a comic book expression. So it was fun to like learn how they're doing that, and that was really cool.
But when viewed from the side, it looks horrifying.
Yeah, like it's like he's taking like this big bite of a handful of noodles, and his mouth is on the side of his head, and they show there's a behind the scenes picture where his like the other side of his face is just kind of pulled away and his teeth are exposed, and it's really cool. I love how they do stuff like that.
Yeah, me too.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that reminds me of what was the Zelda game where they recreated a Game Boy? What's it called?
Yeah. Oh shoot.
You know which one I'm talking about, though, right?
Link's Awakening.
Yeah, Link's Awakening.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, when they recreated it, it's got this like diagonal sort of view. But if you actually saw what it looks like normally, everything is slanted this way.
Oh, funny! I had no idea.
Yeah, in order to create that view, but have everything look at like it's kind of like front, facing. You can see behind the scenes pictures of it. It's very interesting. Yeah,
I love that, but that kind of bums me out too because I want to believe that point of view. That's cool though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that Luca movie didn't suffer from that dumb humor at all. It was really kind of simple and nice and calm, not so overly dramatic. Yeah, that was a good one.
We visited that area of Italy when we were there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I highly recommend going there to the real place. It's very cool.
Have you seen the movie?
It's cool.
I haven't. I've seen bits and pieces.
Yeah.
A lot of them, I'm surprised. There's a lot of these ones on Evan's list that I thought for sure I'd see them, but I guess my kids are older now. Maybe I missed out some of these, but because I was just showing them like the classic animated Pixar movies, so I was like,
some
stuck
of these
in
are
the 90s.
Some of these are almost 10 years old.
Yeah, I know. Well, my children are teenagers now, so it's our.
I saw one with my daughter.
I am also 10 years older.
Yeah. I saw one with my daughter, Evan, in a theater called The Wild Robot. You should check that out when it comes out.
I've heard that is good.
It is really good. It was great.
I watched the trailer, though, and it looked like I saw the whole movie. So
It is. Yep. Yeah, you did.
That sucks.
You did, but there's a lot of the animation and the art style is unique. It's great. Okay. Andrew Navarro, we're back to you. Number 2.
All right. My number 2 is Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes.
That was this year?
Which no, this is the games I played this year.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
I think did it come out in December? Anyway, I had to wait until it came out on Xbox. I think it happened. I think it came out in December.
It was in the winter because I remember the ads for it were like winter themed as well.
Yeah, so I played it a little bit in 23, but mostly in 24 in January. We've talked about that game a lot.
Yeah,
I feel. But it's been a while, maybe since we've talked about it. But yeah, that so good. I really, really enjoyed it. I think that it didn't quite capture the same wonder that I had playing like Baldur's Gate 2 back in the day. But it certainly is just, you have to appreciate the scope of the endeavor. And I think that's the most incredible thing about it. I think when I talked about before, it was like it seemed like whenever there was a question of like, should we put this thing in the game? The answer was always yes. And I haven't really looked into any like behind the scenes stuff for that game, so I don't know if that's true, but that's certainly what it feels like to me. But it's included in a way that doesn't make it feel bloated to me. It just everything feels like a feature. It doesn't feel like anything needs to be trimmed, in my opinion. All that being said, like being someone who's familiar with Dungeons and Dragons and how to play, going into the game makes it much, much easier to get into, and I think appreciate. So coming into it like without any of that knowledge, your mileage might vary, but for me, I loved the combat. I loved the combat puzzle. It was great. The only thing where it kind of fell off to me, and I think the only thing that I think kind of prevents me from going back and playing it, is that I thought it kind of fell down at the end. I didn't think that the conclusion was very interesting, and I didn't think the final boss battles and stuff were very cool. Just kind of like, I don't know. I think if they had hit that note a little bit better, if they'd hit that in any way at all, like they'd hit all the little side stories, which I thought were all really fun to see through the completion, I might have just booted it right back up again and gone in, but it felt like they were like, I don't know, I guess we'll just do this. I was like, okay. It felt very, I don't know. I didn't like it very much. So that's the only part of the game that I didn't like, but unfortunately it was the last thing I did. So, I think that really made it so I was like, well, there's all these other ways to play and all these other things to do, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't really care. I did hear though that the Dark Urge is supposed to be like the canon playthrough, as it's supposed to be the character from the previous game. So I learned that very recently. So I think that might be the thing that draws me back in. So
is it really?
Yeah,
it's the canon.
Yeah, well, it makes sense because of if you play the first two, like you have those dreams and like there's this like there is that kind of like darkness that you're dealing with. So it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, apparently that's what that character is. So that's kind of cool. So I might play as that just to see.
Yeah, I will say I played it 2.5 times now, and every time I play it, I find stuff that I was like, oh my god, I didn't even know this whole area was here.
Yeah.
And I love that. And my Dark Urge playthrough is there's so much. It's so different, and there's so much like new content. I would definitely recommend checking it out.
Yeah, I would imagine that the entire ending would be different with that character. So again, that's the kind of the thing that makes me want to do it. But yeah,
I think like the final fight and like encounter is going to be the same. I haven't gotten that far in my Dark Urge playthrough, so I don't actually know.
But the context of it might be changed, which might make it more interesting. I think that was the thing. It wasn't the mechanics of it that I thought were dull. It was just there was some like for how good the storytelling was in that game, there was definitely some like hand waving that happened. Like, oh, you got to do this thing now. Why? Because that's what the story. That's what the story says. That's right, exactly. Yeah.
Alrighty. And I already talked about what I think of that game a couple episodes ago, but I tried it.
You did.
And that's salute. Let's move on to Fisher number 2. Wow, this is a little longer than I thought it would be.
That's right. We'll just finish up our top 5 and we'll call it an episode.
We can call it after this.
Sounds great.
Yeah, so I was debating on this slot, but I think I'm actually going to go with I haven't really talked much about playing this. I kind of been it's an older game, well, not that old, but a few years old, not something from 24. But I played it quite a bit during 2024, which is this game Baba Is You.
Oh, Baba Is You is great.
Fisher, I've been playing that all day today.
Today?
Yes, today.
Oh, wow.
What are the odds?
Sam and I played it a bunch when it first came out, but we never finished it.
Same here.
And I always kind of regretted that. And so like I kind of started booting it up as like it's kind of a fun thing to like do one level, and like it was a nice diversion to just do a level and then like because Sam and I would do levels after level and get really stuck and fatigued. So I'll just do a level one day and then like it'll just sit there for a while, and then like, the next day, like I've got like 15 minutes and I'll boot it up and do another level. And so I've kind of been doing these progressively, which is getting more challenging as the game gets to the more advanced stages where things kind of the logic gets wild. But for the uninitiated, Baba Is You it's ostensibly Sokuban, which is like a 2D puzzle game where you're pushing around blocks. But in actuality, all of the rules of the game are blocks on the level. So like Baba Is You, the name of the game, is like Baba is a block, is a block, and you is a block. And when they're in order, it means that you are controlling Baba. But like if, for example, you push a different block in place of Baba, now instead of controlling Baba, you are controlling whatever thing you pushed in front of that. And so all of the logic of the game is on the level in these blocks. And so they construct these puzzles that are like really elaborate logic puzzles where you have to like rearrange how the blocks align. And like it's
really
pretty
clever.
astounding
it's
how
really
like
Yeah.
much lateral thinking is involved in the game. Like every puzzle is a weird lateral thinking logic puzzle. So I think it's been it's a couple years old or whatever, but like the kind of slow burn of playing it has been nice.
Yeah, I think it's like
in 20
8
or
years
was
old
nice
now.
in 2024.
It's 2017.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it that old?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
2019 is what
19.
the internet tells me.
19? Okay, that's not as bad. Yeah.
It's got 5 stars with 18,000 Steam reviews, so that's pretty good.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good
Good
job.
game.
Yeah, but it came out so late. I'm never going to play it. It's too old.
I started playing it because there's a game. Have you played Block Koala on UFO 50, Fisher? It's a Sokoban.
I played a little bit of it. I haven't played a ton of that one.
It's kind of,
Because that's a Sokoban,
yeah, it's
right?
kind of the worst game on there, but it made me want to play that again. And God,
Nice recommendation.
Baba Is You is so smart, and I love the puzzles. I don't know if there's anything better in that genre, in that vein.
It looks cool. I like
And I
it.
love the style, the music, everything. Really into that right now. Odd that you chose that. I like, Fisher, how you unmuted yourself to smile.
Oh, I was thinking about saying something, and then I was like, I don't have anything to say.
But I heard your smile. I heard the little lip
Sorry.
smack. I'm glad I did.
I don't know if you're... I'm muting because otherwise you might hear Sam singing Chapel Roan to our baby now. So.
Come on, leave it. We're getting towards the end of the episode. You're good. And then it's Maxine.
Yes. Had I thought of Baldur's Gate 3 when I was making this list, that would have easily bumped Helldivers. Sorry. My buddy Stokes is going to kill me. He was a storyboard artist for Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, wow.
So on his Instagram,
nice.
he constantly shows these like storyboards. So interesting. But anyway, my
Nice work.
actual number 2. Yeah, fantastic work. My number 2 is The Final Shape, which was the final expansion for Destiny 2. A game that I've been playing for the last 10 years religiously. And even though that game over 10 years has its cracks and its flaws, and after The Final Shape has kind of like that expansion was perfect. I could not have asked for a better ending. It was very climactic. It was super cool. They had their like Avengers Endgame moment where like all of the characters from like 10 years of gameplay have shown up to like fight this boss. And they do a really cool thing where in previous expansions, they tend to do a thing where you fight the boss in like the single player campaign and then you defeat it, but it kind of gets away. And then you do the raid, and then that's where you actually defeat the boss. But in this one, they do 3 fights. So it's like a 3-phase thing to defeat this. It's called the Witness, is like the big evil bad, and you fight him first in the campaign, and then you fight him in the raid, and then you fight him again in like a 6-person activity called the Incursion, and that's when you finally actually defeat him for good. And it's just so cool. I love that game. So even though I've stopped playing it since then, that expansion is definitely in my top 5 for sure.
What's it called again?
The Final Shape.
Okay.
It's for Destiny 2.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2. for me is a mini top 5 because someone was asking for me to do my top 5 roguelike deck builder video games. And might as well slip that in here because my number 2 is my number 1 of that list. So
Listception.
These are just my favorites. I don't know if they're the best. I've played, and I was looking at all the roguelike deck builders out there. I think I've played probably 80% of them. So these are my top 5. 5, Wild Frost. That's a lesser liked one, but I loved that one when it came out.
Wait, are you doing a top 5 as your number 2?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait,
Did you
you
miss
might have
that?
missed it.
I missed that little bit, but okay. I thought you were going to do one game from your top 5,
just
not your
as long
whole
as-
top 5.
I might as well fit it in.
Just don't go any deeper than one top 5. Don't go like to another top 5 with
No.
Stick the list.
number 1 of your top 5.
Number 4.
In your second 2.
top
in your
5s.
second- yeah.
Oh, I wish I could figure out how to do that on the fly. Yes, I'm doing this, Andrew. Deal with it. Number 4.
I'll allow it.
Number 4 in my number 2 is Slice and Dice. That's kind of a dice
Good one.
building. I'll continue to play that for a long time. Number 3, Balatro. That was one where it was very addicting. I don't know, but by the end I was just done with it. So I've been done with that. Number 2, Slay the Spire, obviously, is an all-time great. But I think the number 1 is one that is inspired by Slay the Spire, but I think it's like Slay the Spire times 10 for me. And I probably played this game hundreds of hours this year, and it's called Monster Train. And I love Monster Train. It is really fun. Like I said, I'm probably on like hour 150 of this game, and I still find myself going like, whoa, cool, I did it. Oh, yeah, like that kind of feeling. Whereas a lot of these other games, you get towards the end and you're just like a zombie, like it's like mom playing solitaire on the computer kind of thing. But I still love Monster Train. It's just, there's so many different engines you can build. I don't know how they do it. It's just really deep. And it may also appeal to a more how do I say this? Like a casual deck builder person, someone who just likes things to be like big and chunky and have impact, like satisfaction. You don't have to sit there and plan things out too much. You can just make like bold decisions. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I'm on like level 16 of the Ascension. There's like 25. And I've started doing this thing where I will scum save. What do you call it? where I'll like try a level and like I just blew it, but then I quickly close out of the app and I can retry it. So then it kind of becomes almost a puzzle game. Where I'm like, okay, now I know what I've got. What do I got to do here? So it's got new legs as a kind of a puzzle game for me.
Andres, have you heard of a mobile game called Dawncaster? You should check it out.
Dawn, like
It's
Break of Dawn?
Dawn, yeah, like DAWN caster, one word.
I like Dawn.
It's a roguelite deck builder.
Okay, Dawncaster.
I searched Doncaster and I got U of L Health Doncaster.
What?
So-
I don't think that's what I'm referring to now.
You of a Doncaster.
Don J. Caster. MD.
No,
Oh, is
that is not.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out. I need something new.
Yeah,
Sweet.
it's on like Google Store and stuff.
Does anybody else like Monster Train? Has anybody played it?
Nope.
Actually, I haven't played it. I like because of its similarity to Slay the Spire. I think when it came out, I was still like I had a bunch of friends who played it. And I was like, I'll just go play more Slay the Spire. I never really got all I could out of that, and so I didn't boot up Monster Train.
I tried to play Slay the Spire recently, and it feels so boring now.
Well,
Wow.
they just announced Slay the Spire 2. So
I know. Hopefully, it's not boring.
Wow.
I loved Slay the Spire, okay? But Monster Train is just like, yeah, Slay the Spire on steroids. And I like the art better. It's like you play as like monsters of hell. You're trying to, and then you're fighting like angel bad guys that are holy. I don't know. Cool theme too. Okay, that's my top 5 at number 2. And let's move to our number 1s. starting with Evan. Number 1 kid movie.
Yeah, so number 1 is shared by 2 movies, Inside Out 1 and 2.
Ooh, those are great.
I really love those movies. They're so great. They're basically, the movie follows a girl named Riley, the first one, and her family's big move across the country, and you follow a lot of her experience inside her mind through the characterization of her emotions. So in the first movie, there's inside her head, there is joy, anger, fear, and disgust and sadness, and they're all little cartoon characters, and they're working these levers on a console that kind of dictate her actions based, so whatever emotion she's feeling is the emotion that's working the controls, and they're fighting over it and stuff. And it's really imaginative, and some of the emotions end up going on an adventure in her mind to try to preserve kind of the pillars of her personality as she's changing in these new experiences. And as they go through a lot of fun environments like this, they get deconstructed in this abstract thought realm inside of her mind, and there's a stream of consciousness that's a stream with things floating in it, and there's all these memories stored everywhere, and they're all tinged with different emotions based on what she was feeling at the time that memory was created. And it's all so cool. And Inside Out 2 explores it further. She's a little bit older, and she has new emotions that have been introduced. There's anxiety and envy, embarrassment, and ennui. And for a while, it really spoke to me, because a lot of part 2 is about how anxiety ends up hijacking her the entire movie almost. And it really made me feel bad almost, because of how well they expressed it. And I'm like, damn, that's a problem. A problem that I know all too well. So I really recommend these movies. They're great. So
they are. Do you prefer one over the other?
I think it's hard to say. I think I might like 2 more, actually.
That anxiety character?
I think the second one hits harder.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Have you seen?
I haven't watched the second one yet, but I did cry at Bing Bong in the first one.
Yeah,
so
Bing
I'll
Bong.
have to.
Definitely made a stone to not cry.
I know.
That scene.
Bing Bong.
Yeah. Oh.
I think that's why I liked 1 better, is because of Bing Bong. Such a good.
Yeah, Bing Bong was great.
Have you seen Soul, by the way?
I haven't, but I'm familiar with it. I've seen it on the Disney Plus.
I liked that one a lot too. It kind of reminded me of Inside Out. All right, thanks for your list, Evan.
Yeah.
Andrew Navarro's number 1 game of the year.
My number 1 game.
Could it be?
Which
Let's guess.
I don't. This is obviously list very personal to me. I'm not making any value judgments empirically on these games. But my number 1 is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Oh, I've heard good
Gotta
things.
play that.
I've heard very good things. Yeah.
It is awesome. And I played it over the break. I'm not done with it yet. I'm still playing it. But time and place for me, absolutely perfect. It arrived at just the right moment. And as a longtime Indiana Jones fan, Indiana Jones was one of my favorite characters of all time. Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of my favorite movies of all time. It is fantastic. I think if you're not an Indiana Jones fan, I don't know how much of appeal it would have to you. But Troy Baker plays Indiana Jones. If you guys know who Troy Baker is, he's in a bajillion video games. Very, very good voice actor, but he also does the performance capture for the game, and he does an amazing Indiana Jones. It's not perfect note for note, but his performance coupled with the writing, which is also very good, the dialogue, really just makes you feel like you're playing as Indiana Jones in an Indiana Jones adventure. And the way that the gameplay is, it's very, very chill. The pace I really like. It was reminded again. I was kind of reminded of like Red Dead Redemption 2 and how much I liked the pace of that game, where it was just you spend a lot of time just walking through environments. And this game is faster paced than Red Dead 2. You could move faster, and it isn't like a giant like open world. It's like little open worlds, which is an approach I like. Where I was telling Fisher about it a couple days ago, and it's kind of like big Hitman levels, if you're familiar with Hitman.
Oh yeah,
where there's a lot, but it's not like a ridiculous amount of space. But there's a lot of little nooks and crannies and little things going on that you can find and discover. But yeah, the gameplay is really just kind of walking around these environments. You can just kind of beeline the main story, and I think it would go really fast. But then you can just like walk around and just uncover these mysteries and solve little environmental puzzles and move levers and find clues and decode things. And every once in a while you hit a Nazi with a hammer or like push a fascist off of a bridge.
sold.
There's not a lot of gunplay, right? It's just
You can use guns, but like the weapon tuning isn't awesome. The guns are not as powerful as like a hammer. So
I feel like that's ironic, given that Indiana Jones one-shotting people with his gun is like a bit.
Yeah. I wish you could just one-shot guys. That would make it more, I think, enjoyable. Yeah, but you can just pick up items in the environment and then carry them around and whack people with them, or you can like chuck them and try to throw them from a distance and hit them, or you can use them as distractions. You can also like you get a lighter at one point and you can light flaming barrels on fire and they explode and they'll go and check those out as long as you're not spotted. And yeah, it's a lot of sneaking around. There's a lot of disguises. Like Indiana Jones is always wearing disguises in movies, and you get to do that too, and that's really fun to just walk around in these disguises. And if you get too close to certain guys, then they'll like get alerted. But for the most part, you can kind of walk around
It is
unencumbered.
Hitman.
But I'm not done with it yet. I'm getting pretty close to the end. But yeah, the number of times playing this game where I've just said out loud, "This game's great," like multiple times I've done that.
That's my test of a good game. That's great.
Yeah, it's been so much fun. So I think you could definitely argue that Baldur's Gate 3 has a lot more going for it than Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. But for me, that's the game that's really did it for me this year.
Nice. Alrighty, great top 5 games.
Thank you.
Let's wrap up Fisher's.
Yeah, well, I'll help your runtime here, Anders, because I don't think mine needs much explanation.
Okay.
And Andrew said his wasn't a value judgment. Mine is. This is the best. And I don't need to talk about it much, because if you want to hear about it, just go to any of our podcasts for like the last 4 months. It's UFO 50.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
I was going to argue
mine
that
too.
was going to be like, that has to be the podcast number 1.
Yeah.
Let's combine ours. That's mine as well. That's mine as well.
Yeah, I knew it would be, Anders. I'm sorry I preempted you.
That's okay. What is the last game on there that you loved? What's the last game on there that you really liked?
The last game I really liked, I think it was Mini and Max was like my high point, the one where you kind of shrink. I don't know if it was my favorite game on there, but that was like, after that, I was like, I played a few more and really enjoyed them, but that was like my peak of it, was playing through a Mini and Max, or Max and Mini, or whichever order they're in. Yeah,
cool. Cool.
But yes, there's so many good, there's a lot of games that did not click with me, but there's 50 of them, right? So like, who cares?
Yeah,
they're not going.
It's amazing.
Yeah, love that game.
One of my buddies is doing a thing where they have a little like a book club where like every week they play 5 games from UFO 50 and then they talk about them. I thought that was really interesting.
Well, if I'm going to just do mine now too, mine was the game plus this podcast called Eggplant, and they're for the whole year they're going one by one through the game, so they all just play in order. And that experience of playing the games along with them and listening to them go deep into, I just love hearing these people, and they bring on guests that are well-known game designers and stuff, and they'll just talk for an hour and a half about like Paint Chase, where you play as a little car, looks like a little 8-bit car, you know. I love that there are people that want to sit and wax poetic about something like that. So that whole experience has been really fun this year. And my last game that I loved was Avianos. Did you play that one, Fisher?
Oh yeah, that might be my top game actually.
Actually, Mooncat too. Did you play Mooncat?
I haven't beat Mooncat, but I played a decent amount.
I loved Mooncat, and I got my first cherry disc on Camouflage.
Oh yeah, yep. Camouflage is very doable.
It's amazing. I've played quite a few of these games, but you're mentioning ones I haven't even touched yet. So
Yeah, I know.
it just speaks to
that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, how robust this game is.
Oh no, Waldorf's Journey. Did anybody?
Haven't played that one either.
I did not click with Waldorf Journey. I feel like Maxine made a joke
beat
a
it.
few couple episodes ago where we could just be making these up.
Oh, did you guys play Spoodle? I mean, that was my favorite one.
I think Spoodle's a little overwrought. You know?
Onion Delivery. Waldorf's Journey, though, it was the first time my daughter has like come up to me and like I was playing it in bed on the Steam Deck, and we sleep in the same bed, and she just, in the morning I was playing it, and she rested her little head on my chest and was super into it. And it's a game where you play as this walrus, and as you're dreaming, and there's all these platforms in this kind of sky world, and you like charge up your jump, so you kind of aim and you charge up this jump of this cool looking walrus, and you have like a flight time, so you're trying to land on these platforms, and she was loving it. So it's my first experience of my daughter watching me play and getting into a game. And then I beat it. I thought I could never beat that one. That seemed impossible at first. So Waldorf's Journey is my number one. All right.
Oh, really? That's your number one?
It's UFO.
What about Party House?
Ooh, Party House is great too.
Yeah, Party House is great.
I could have done my top 5 UFO 50 games within my number one.
Another sub 5.
No.
Once I've
Andre's top 25 of the year.
Okay, who do we have left? All we have got left
It's me.
is Maxine, and that's the finale. Your number one
Yes.
finale of the show. What is
No pressure though.
it?
So my number one thing this year is a tabletop game. You guys have probably heard me talk about it a lot. It's Daggerheart. It's currently in beta. Right. Whoops. Sorry, my alarm is going off for some reason. It's currently in beta, but I've been playing it every couple weeks with my bandmates, and it's just so much fun. It's really good. If you don't know what it is, it's basically Critical Role's answer to D&D. So it's kind of traditional swords and sorcery, fantasy, although they have these different like campaign frames, they call them, that you can like overlay on top of it to like change the setting a little bit. They don't have like a centralized setting for the game. It's more about the mechanics. And the mechanics are super clever. It's a 2d12 based system, so everyone has 2 differently colored d12s, a hope die and a fear die. And whenever you make a test, you roll both of them and you add them up, and that's your total, along with whatever your stat that you're rolling. So if you're rolling strength, you roll 2d12, you add your strength. But depending on which of the 2 dice is larger, the value is larger than the other one, you either succeed with hope or you succeed with fear, or you fail with hope or you fail with fear. And if there's fear, then the DM gets a fear move, which can be like changing the situation. Like maybe you succeeded, but it took you longer to do the thing that you were trying to do. Or they can just take a fear token, and then they can spend that later to do fear moves. And if you gain a hope, then you record that on your character sheet, and you can spend it to use your special abilities. So it's super
Sounds
clever.
like Genesis.
Yeah, it's a lot. Sounds a lot
Yeah,
like
a little bit. It's got elements of a lot of different games. It's got elements of Apocalypse World in there. It's got elements of D&D in there. It's got elements of Genesis in there. It's they've taken all the best stuff, it feels like, from a lot of the tabletop RPGs over the last few years and just kind of like streamlined it into its own little system. we've played about 7 or 8 sessions, and so far it's a blast. Like, we've been having so much fun with it. I can't wait for my real copy to arrive sometime this spring, hopefully.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is it called Daggerheart?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't say?
There's no specific in-world thing for Daggerheart. Like I said, the setting is kind of amorphous. When you sit down to play a campaign of Daggerheart, you play a little game of Microscope, kind of, if you know what Microscope is, to like create the setting together.
Mm-hmm.
So they give you like a blank map, and you'll like write down little towns and villages, and all the players will contribute. So it feels like you've built this world together. So again, like that's another thing that they took. They just kind of like took Microscope and like put it in their game. What else?
Reddit seems unsure as to why it's called Daggerheart. So I don't know if there's I don't know if there's a good reason.
I don't know.
This word plus this word sounds cool.
Yeah,
is reason.
Probably.
You're big on names. What would you rate that name, Navarro?
I'd give it a 5 out of 10. It's a fine name, but you at least got to put in the effort to say why it's named that. Like,
yeah.
You got to at least try. If they didn't even write a thing about it in the book, then
well, the book doesn't exist yet. Maybe they did.
Maybe it will. Maybe it will. Yeah. By the time the beta's done, they'll have figured out a reason to call it Daggerheart. Daggerheart's a great character name.
Daggerheart.
It is. Yeah, it's like Shadowheart.
Yeah. Shadowheart.
Yeah.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Never mind. Taken.
It's taken. Shadowheart's a great character, though.
It is. Yeah, she is cool.
Yeah.
Well,
but yeah, that's my number 1. Super hyped to get the final version. I can't wait to play more.
Thanks for the thumbs up fireworks.
That was great.
Whoa.
Do I have it yet? It's fitting that we ended on a real physical game, and it's been great to be back with you all. That wraps up our big show. Our top 5. Everyone's been waiting for it. So what's the winner? I think UFO 50 is the winner. All right.
I think UFO 50 wins.
Yeah.
We
I'll
talked
play it
about
eventually.
it a lot. We talked about it a lot. So you two, you need to play it.
Well, I'm just waiting for it to come out on console.
Mm-hmm.
Switch 2. You might get it on Switch 2.
I'm not buying that thing.
Why?
I have too many consoles.
But it has an optical sensor. You can use it like a mouse. You can use one of the
Great.
Joy-Con like a mouse. You can play.
Wait, have they announced the
Finally.
Switch 2?
No, but there's been a ton of
Leaks and stuff.
speculations this last week.
They must be true.
Yeah. No, I think they are. It's getting close.
This time it's for real.
It was whatever. There's a lot. I was going to explain
you have an
it.
uncle that works for Nintendo that told you that?
Yeah, my uncle is Shigeru Miyamoto.
Shiggy himself.
That's why you get the
AKA
Wario.
Shadowheart.
He gave you that as
Okay, that's good. Great ending. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll see you in a couple weeks, I think. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. Happy New Year.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.